The fourth industrial revolution is comprised of cyber-physical systems, and through these cyber-physical systems is the Internet of Things. Internet of Things is about ecosystems and creating connections throughout those individualized ecosystems which support one another. In 2016, the World Economic Forum published its findings and predictions for the fourth industrial context, and it is a technological revolution that fundamentally alters the way we live, work, and relate to one another. And this is no longer conceptual. We now know this. COVID-19 made our digital dependency a reality and disrupted traditional working relationships. As we know, study abroad was halted, and virtual exchange, which was previously considered a novelty, grew to be more widely adapted, which formed new traditions and new expectations for student learning and global engagement. I would also like to point out that these predictions were made in 1998 by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, known as UNESCO, in the World Declaration on Higher Education, which serves as a roadmap and fortune teller about what higher education will look like in the 21st century. And once again, that's the World Declaration on Higher Education. Today's session is really about creating communities, because how do we interact with people who we don't know from the other side of the world? And although academically speaking, virtual exchange and COIL are elements that increase the skills and capacity of our students, it's also really important to consider who they're engaging with on the other side and how it supports their learning. And what a wonderful opportunity to be able to engage.
In the future, the challenge of higher education is on the notion of togetherness. I'm Stephen Liu. I developed the iProtean platform. iProtea is a new initiative started by the Viterbi School of Engineering at USC. So imagine you as a student walking to an iProtean classroom, and you will see a typical screen in the front. And in addition, you will see two very big screens on each side. So when you, as a student, walk in the iProtean classroom, you will see your classmate, say from China, say from Germany, will also walk into their respective iProtean classroom. And you can say hi to each other, and you can hear each other's voice and see each other's image. The iProtean vision is learning together for a better world. So rather than giving students lectures in the classroom, the student will watch online courses free of charge at home before coming to class. And then when they arrive in campus, they come to the iProtean classroom and they will have the opportunity to interact with their classmates across the physical, temporal, and institutional boundary. And this cultural diversity can inspire further global innovation and prove a concept which I strongly believe, that is, global cultural diversity is a great asset for global innovation. The course that student will join should be a formal accredited course from their curriculum. So based on that all the iProtea courses that we offer to universities who have signed this MOU are courses that students can take and receive the formal university credit. And the credit is offered by their own home institution, not by iProtea Alliance. Because each university has different curriculum, and they are all required to fit into their curriculum. So this is what we do. That, for example, if we offer a course, the subject is on global innovation, and we have some qualification for targeted student. Now, if USC offer this iProtea course, or lead or propose to offer this iProtea course, and other institutions in the iProtea Alliance, if they're interested, their faculty will look through their current course offer and through different related departments. Then they will find a course which are most similar in terms of the focus and content and the target audience to this proposed iProtea course. The issue about leveraging diversity, I think this is the core issue that we have been trying to find the best practice. However, there's no set theory to do that, so we have done a lot of trial and error. Now, after these 10 years, we realized there are several important ingredients that you must get into this in order to really practice learning from diversity. Number one is you have to be very clear on what is the diversity you try to learn from. Because diversity is a very generic term. Whenever you say this, people always think about this common language diversity, like the ethnic diversity, socioeconomic diversity, religious diversity, gender diversity. This is all fine. But those kind of things, although they influence learning, it's very hard to capture them directly and relate to learning outcome. So what we have decided to focusing on is a specific kind of diversity, which we call the diversity of thoughts. In other words, we will have students to work on some common task. And as they experience this common problem, and because they're different diverse background, they will come with different thoughts, different ideas, different viewpoint, different assumption. And we will try then to take advantage of these different thoughts to group them. So the first step is you want to make sure you're clearly focusing on the term diversity. You know exactly what you try to do. Number two is, once you say, okay, I want to have a large diversity of thoughts. Number two things is, how can you enlarge that diversity so you have more diversity of thought to work with? And that's why we use the internet to bring students from very far apart of the world into one classroom. And that's why we now have program which is one classroom within which we have multiple campuses from around the world. And this is opposite to the typical campus model where you have one campus which consists of multiple classrooms on the campus. So now we have one classroom which consists of multiple campuses inside the classroom. So now, if you can do that with technology, you bring them into the classroom and you know exactly what kind of diversity you want to really focusing on. So what you do is now you can give students some common problem, common reading, and they will look at this reading individually first. And after that, you do a survey and try to figure out their different thoughts. And then the result, the survey result, will be analyzed by an algorithm. Because imagine you have 200 students around the world, you have 20 survey questions, then you have a lot of combination of student and answer, right? So we use algorithm to analyze all this answer and find out 5 or 6 students whose answer are most different from each other. And then we assign these 5, 6 students into a discussion cohort. And that is the way we, not only we focusing on certain diversity, we expand the amount of diversity, we also have algorithm to harvest the diversity in the classroom. And then when students meet together in the cohort, they already know why they are together, because they have very different thoughts on the same subject, okay? It's not just different thought on anything in the world, because otherwise then become very difficult to really measure how they benefit from the diversity. So by the time students get together in the cohort, they already have the same experience of a problem, and then they put together by the algorithm, which they know they have the most different thought of the problem, so that when they discuss with each other, they will then be able to learn a different perspective, different thought from other students.
Prior to the pandemic, it's important to note that international student recruitment numbers were declining, particularly in the US context, but also because online and hybrid learning environments have made international learning experiences more accessible. The past 23 years, there have been crumbs to indicate the direction of higher education and its global focus. And there has been a hard resistance to creating those changes institutionally for many universities. The COVID-19 pandemic really was a catalyst to create the change we needed to pivot into the fourth industrial context for cyber-physical systems. This is the Internet of Things. When we create ecosystems to support learning environments through international collaborations, we are creating the future of higher education in this way, and the iPodia program supports how to do this. you.